After working hard at the gym, you need a mattress that works as hard as you do. Spinalign has engineered the perfect mattress for you and your active lifestyle. Don't compromise your recovery with inferior sleep. Order your Spinalign mattress today.
First, pre-workout vape.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, everything going on in and outside the bodybuilding world. It is all on the table. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Let's get right to it. We have so much going on right now in the world of bodybuilding. Of course, Big Ronnie making his announcement yesterday that he will, in fact, be competing at the IFBB European Championships on October 11th. He said October 11th, but if you look at the schedule, it's the show in Alicante, Spain. So big news there. Dave recorded his response video last night, so check that out right now on RxMuscle.com. We recorded a mega episode of Iron Debate with Tom Prince and Milos Sarcev, and I mean mega episode. It's so big that we're going to be splitting it up into 2 episodes plus a lot of clips. Great stories from the 90s. And of course, the importance of training. That was the main crux of the conversation. But then once it got into the stories, these are going to be some of the more entertaining stories you're going to hear, and you're going to want to tune in. First 2 parts, are going to go up tomorrow on RxMuscle.com. Then Dave, as we now bring in Dave Palumbo, we have a big sale going on right now on SpeciesNutrition.com, another Ask Dave exclusive, and another Isolized sale. Chocolate milk, 22 serving, cinnamon donut, 22 serving, cinnamon donut, 44 serving, and a vanilla peanut butter, 22 serving, all on sale.
Yeah, now, I just want to let everyone know, we're doing ridiculous pricing on these. So the reason is because we only have a couple left. Now, when I say a couple, I mean a couple hundred, but these things are going to go really fast. When we only have a few hundred, I mean, we usually sell thousands when we do these sales. So these are going to go fast. I'm talking like they'll be gone probably by the end of today. So if you really like what the product and you want to get it at the sale price, don't come crying tomorrow. Go buy them now. You can buy as many as you want until they run out. Now, they're short dated in the sense that at the end of November, they expire. But as we know, these things don't go bad. We just can't sell them after November 29th. So take advantage of the sale. Let me just tell you, I know most of you guys do. The smart guys out there I see, they buy cases of this stuff and they just put it in their house and they have it for, the next 6 months, or even some people who are smart have it for the next year. Once again, the stuff is expired in the sense we can't sell it, but the product does not go bad after the end of November. So you don't have to use it all in 2 months, but you got to buy it before then because we can't sell it after that date. I know these products will all be gone. There's limited SKUs in each flavor, so check it out at SpeciesNutrition.com right now. If you spend over $100, you get free shipping too.
So let me just run through for the 22 serving sizes. It's been slashed to $24.99, and the 44 serving cinnamon donut isolized $49.98.
Which is like half price. Half price.
There you go. First 2 questions, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question: Could a 58-year-old man stay on 400 tests and 200 deca for life? I've been on that exact amount for 3 straight years, and all my blood work just came back within range. Had full comprehensive panel a second time in 3 years. I know you can only make an educated guess with no studies on this, but he painted that scenario.
The question is, why do you want to be on that much stuff all the time? It has to be psychological at that point. Now, here's the problem. When you take that dosage, you're doing a steroid cycle essentially. You're stacking 2 compounds. You're taking what we call pharmacological dosage. These are not physiological dosage, meaning that an amount of testosterone that would normally physiologically be seen in the body. When you do pharmacological dosage, you get pharmacological effects. Predominantly what we're looking for as bodybuilders, building muscle, right? Recovery. At a much higher rate than you would normally get when you have physiological dosages of testosterone in your body. When you have pharmacological effects occurring, you also have pharmacological side effects, which means that this is a long-term thing that goes on. So you can check your blood work and you can check everything, but we don't really know, what's happening on a regular basis. Is your body being overworked? Are the organs being overworked? Personally, I would at least once a year try to clean out for a good 8 weeks on nothing. If you want to coast the rest of the year, or cruise as people say nowadays on that, you can do it. But what you're going to do is you're going to stagnate on that dose, and you're probably not going to make it. You're just maintaining at that point. You're not making improvements at some point if you're always on the same dose continuously. Having said that, if your health markers are good, your blood pressure is controlled, and your liver and kidney function are good, I can't imagine that your cholesterol numbers are good. Maybe LDL can be good, but those HDLs going into the single digits, all the time. If you have a predisposition for heart, coronary artery disease, like in your family, that's not a good thing necessarily. If your LDLs are a little high, that's not necessarily good. But if everything does come back normal, which once again I find hard to believe, then I guess you can do it. I just think once again, if you're always on the same dose, you do tend to stagnate and not make improvements, which is why you're staying on the dose to begin with. So once again, you might want to clean out every so often just to give your receptors a chance to regenerate themselves. And your body a chance to not have some pharmacological doses of anabolics in you,
Second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, my arms lack size compared to the rest of my body parts. What are multiple things that I can do to combat this?
No, training, obviously, and putting size on would be, the first most effective way to do it. I found that when my arms weren't growing, I was having trouble feeling some of the movements that I was doing. Like if I would do barbell curls, with the length of arm I had, if I would do a bicep curl, I just didn't feel like I was getting enough in the biceps. I was feeling a lot in my forearms. I was feeling a lot in my back. So I found that by doing one arm cable curls, where I could actually lean into the movement and get continuous tension even on the way down, I found that I was getting a better workout and I was growing muscle. So you might want to try unilateral isolation movements, but with heavy weight, and you'll have to build up to the heavy weight, once you get used to it. Second thing you can do, obviously, is try to prioritize your arm training, maybe like after a cheat meal. So if you cheat like on a Saturday, maybe on Sunday do arms. Try to not train so early in the morning. Try to train a little later in the afternoon when you do arms, so that you have a couple meals in you and you feel a little carved up and stuff like that, and your body's in a really anabolic state. And then the third thing you can do is you could always do site injection oils. Painless Pumps Gen 4, which is out now. We have it at davepalumbo.com. The Chris Clark Synthesize, which I also have available. And if anyone emails me, I could send you the injection protocol. It's not an issue. Those are products that would be a much more aggressive approach to trying to increase your arm size, because now you're actually having to put something into your arms. So, but that's a personal decision, obviously. But those would be the 3 things that would be the most effective at building arm mass. Also don't remember, when you have a weak body part, whether it be arms or legs or chest, weak body parts don't do better. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, do feeder workouts," which basically is a fancy way of saying train a little bit every day. So, you got a weak chest, train your chest a little bit every day. I don't find that works. Usually people have weak body parts because those body parts don't recover well from the workout. I find that if you train them less often, more intensely, they grow better. So instead of doing like what I would do when I was doing my arms were something that I always wanted to make bigger because I had a long arm. So I would train my arms, and I've said this before, on separate days. So one day I would just do biceps and forearms, another day I would just do triceps. They would be very quick days in the gym for me. I would only be in there for 45 minutes, maybe the most. Maybe I'd do some calves on the same day, and I'd get out of there. And what I did when I split them up like that, I was doing an 8-day split. So I was training each body part once every 8 days. But biceps and triceps had their own days. So that I felt that really helped those muscle groups grow because they were small muscle groups. I hit them hard. I didn't do a lot of volume, but I isolated them with unilateral movements, and then I got the hell out of the gym. And that really helped a lot, I found. I can't hear you, Sid. I can't hear you. What do you think happened?
My apologies. All right, can you hear me now? No. My full disclosure, my 2-year-old son kept running in and out of the room, so I had to keep moving it. Yeah, that explains the noise earlier on during.
No problem. Yeah, no, I knew he was in the room a little earlier. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, no, I told him to go.
I think you were moving around. Anyway, he was moving around in the chair. Is that what it was? Okay.
Like ruffling in the background.
All right.
We go to our Instagram questions again. If you're not following us, official_RxMuscle. And as always, if you're watching us for the first time on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. As we just mentioned, we have Dave's reaction video to Big Ronnie confirming his next show. Then we have a mega episodes coming out of Iron Debate with Milos Sarcev and Tom Prince. And then, of course, over the course of the next 3 weeks, we're going to start our coverage. Again, hard to believe, but in 3 weeks, we're going to be starting our coverage for the 2020 Olympia with all the timelines thrown off. So, again, a lot of content coming up over the course of the next 2-3 months. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Hit the subscription, hit the notification bell, rather. If you like what you're watching, hit the thumbs up button, comment below. Obviously, that helps us. And as always, we appreciate all the support of RX Nation. Let's go to the Dolce Diet, good friend of the show. Dave, this is a topic that some other bodybuilding channels already addressed, so we figured we'd give the forum on this one. Your thoughts on the UFC champion Israel Adesanya, his gyno in his right pec displayed at UFC 253. What can cause gyno in a 30-year-old world champion? Tyler, I don't know if you've already put up, but if you could pull up that picture, and Dave will explain.
I mean, it's the answer to the question is pretty obvious. Gynecomastia is caused by the breast tissue in your, under your nipple, enlarging in response to usually estrogen or prolactin. Usually, it's an estrogenic type of thing, and everyone has different amounts of glandular tissue that they're born with. Just like some girls will get big boobs and some girls will have small boobs. Same thing with men, except the men don't really know what their breast tissue potential is because there's never an estrogenic exposure during their life. Now, there are certain medications that you can take that can increase estrogen output and that can cause gynecomastia. Unlikely that that's the case with him. I mean, if you smoke too much weed, you can get raise your estrogen, you can get gynecomastia. I had a roommate in college, and the guy never worked out. All he did was smoke weed, and he looked like he had women's breasts, So that's a possibility, but unlikely, since he's a world-class athlete. More than likely is he's like everyone else is. All these athletes, they're doing steroid cycles. They're doing anabolics. They're in it. Obviously, he's tested in the UFC, so he's not doing it all year round. He's got to be very careful. He's got to be able to pass his drug tests. But something he took obviously irritated, or exacerbated, and made those glands grow. Whether it be estrogenic, because of testosterone use, or like something like Dianabol. More than likely, a lot of these guys are taking fast-acting compounds because they don't want that stuff to be in their system for a very long time. A lot of times, the fast-acting, stronger compounds can convert to estrogen. Some of the faster-acting compounds, even like Trenbolone, which we know raises prolactin really high, can cause a prolactin-induced gynecomastia. Usually, found along with that is you can almost get a discharge out of the gland because the prolactin increases. In women, at least, it's responsible for milk production. Men don't produce milk, but we will produce a mucus secretion if the glands are pretty big in that area. It could be a combined effort. Obviously, if I were him, and I'm making big money, I probably would have gotten the surgery to remove the stuff so that no one would be, speculating about what I'm doing and not doing. It just looks really suspicious. I think a lot of people just, don't pay any attention to it. Most people don't want to have to go for an elective surgery if they don't have to. The great thing is that it's really not a big deal. It's a really simple procedure. After 2 weeks, you're pretty much back to normal. I mean, I send so many people to Dr. Blau in White Plains, New York, because he's the #1 gynecomastia surgeon in the world. He's written the book about gynecomastia. I probably have sent, 5,000 people over the last 30 years to him. And everyone is a very satisfied customer because this is what he does. He's the best. Matter of fact, I've had guys that I work with in other countries that flew in for Dr. Blau to do the job. Why? Because it's a cosmetic procedure. Obviously, it would look a little suspicious if he went and got the gyno out and he had a big scar across his nipple. It's just as bad as having the gyno. So you want to get an experienced board-certified plastic surgeon to do the surgery. You get what you pay for, I always tell you that. And don't cheap out on anything plastic surgery-wise. So if you want to you can contact Dr. Blau, through his website, cosmeticmd.com, or there's a link on our RxMuscle website. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty evident, he might not even have used a lot. I'll tell you, I've told this story before. I took 1 shot of Sustanon, my very first shot of testosterone ever, and I had gynecomastia the next day. No joke. The next freaking day, the girl I was dating at the time, my longtime girlfriend at the time, she didn't believe me. I said, I got gyno. She's like, you took a shot yesterday. I said, I got gyno. She's like, let me see it. I showed her. She's like, holy shit, you're right. It was amazing because I always had glandular tissue there genetically, but it wasn't like round and knot like. It was just flat. And I had no body fat, so it really didn't look that bad. As soon as I took that shot, boom, lumps hanging on my nipple. It happens what happens. He's got to get the surgery so that everyone stops speculating because that's not going to be good for his career.
All right, so the next question we're going to go into is one that Dave, you told me about shortly minutes before. It was sent to by our friend Chris586. It's about vegan gains. Now, vegan gains and RxMuscle obviously have some history. A couple of years ago, there was a video exchange where he first initially made a video about whether Dave was responsible for Dallas McCarver's passing. And then obviously that evolved into whatever it evolved into. A year later, actually, Vegan Gains' channel was taken down, and we were one of the channels that advocated for YouTube to reinstate his channel. But now, here's the latest one, because Dave did get a message on it. Vegan Gains has apparently started an OnlyFans channel, and for those of you that don't know what OnlyFans is, you probably already do, so whatever. But we saw, basically, I don't know, Tyler, if you have the picture that Dave was sent. Basically, it's Vegan Gains, and it's pretty raunchy. It's not very family friendly. So, Dave, I mean, I don't know if Tyler has it up. If you want to give your initial reactions, Vegan Gains on OnlyFans.
I didn't even know what OnlyFans was until someone sent that to me, and I actually asked you, and you explained it to me. But I'm assuming this is the real Vegan Gains. I mean, unless someone made a fake account, I should probably have texted them, but we just got it like minutes before the show started. So. The interesting thing is that I always thought he made very good money from his YouTube channel. So I don't know. I haven't looked at his YouTube channel lately. Maybe he's not getting the hits he used to get, and maybe he's desperate for money. I don't know, but it looks like he's doing like showing off his thing, so to speak, for money. I don't know. I don't even know. Would you call that gay for pay? No, I don't know. It's just sex for pay. I don't know. He's showing off his cucumber, right? As Tyler would say. This is someone that Vegan Gains would make fun of if he saw someone like this. So I'm shocked that he's doing it. That's why I almost believe it's not true, but it might be. If you want to see Vegan Gains cucumber, go sign up for his OnlyFans page, I guess.
There's
too many social media. I signed up for TikTok, Sid. I got a TikTok account now, and. I don't know. I just did it because I wanted to watch some of the other stuff, and I throw up a video every now and again just for shits and giggles. There's too many places to check with social media. What? Yeah, it's a mess. Can't we combine everything? Can't they find a way to how? Remember when you had 400 remote controls for the TV set, and nowadays you only need one because it seems like you could just stream everything from your smart TV, but. Back in the day, there was you had 400 remote controls. You didn't know what worked what, and people try to have universal remote. We need to combine all the social media into one so that we can check one place. I don't want to have to check my messages any place else. One freaking place, please. Someone come down and create the universal theory of a unified theory of internet social media. That's going to be the next big thing. If you want to become a next billionaire, there you go. Solve that problem.
No, it's funny because there's Facebook, which when it first came out was for relatively young. I mean, college students essentially.
Right.
And then eventually you started to see, your grand aunt, your uncles on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go on Instagram and you say to yourself, all right, well, here I'm in my zone or whatever. And then all of a sudden now, years later, you're going to start to see your grand aunt, your uncles on that as well. TikTok right now, I guess, it's obviously it's white hot. I mean, it's one of the biggest social networks in the world right now. And it's only getting bigger. Right now, it's very centered around younger people. There's a lot of, with the gamers, the Twitch crowd or whatever. So it's going to be interesting, Dave, just to see how that's going to play into the bodybuilding world with supplement companies down the road.
I got to tell you, though, the thing that annoys me on TikTok the most, it really drives me. I think it drives me so crazy because I know my dad would hate it too. I see these like middle-aged women like in their 50s trying to do these funky dances like on there, and I want to throw up because they're not like there's a couple of them that are really good, but most of them are like it's like watching my mother trying to do something like that or something like that, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm just thinking, oh my God, they have kids. Their kids are probably mortified. I'm like, it's so embarrassing what they're doing on the kitchen floor that I'm like, I don't even know how to respond to it. And it always pops up as soon as I open TikTok, that's what pops up on my line. I don't know why. It's always some middle-aged woman trying to do some kind of funky dance to some modern, music. And it's like, I just keep saying, oh my God, if this was like my mother or one of my relatives, I would be mortified. Oh, these kids must get tortured in school. I don't even know what these people are thinking.
Well, Instagram now has their new, I guess, answer. See, remember when Snapchat, I don't know, we've totally forgotten about Snapchat. Yeah. Snapchat eventually, Instagram adopted their Instagram stories as an answer to Snapchat. And now Instagram has IG Reels, which I guess is their answer to TikTok. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. TikTok has turned people into street performers, right? You go to Times Square and you have like, the group of people dancing around and people standing around and they'll throw them a quarter or whatever. Right. That's basically what it's become now. I mean, it's like the goofier you could be, the goofier dance you could pull off, no matter how old you are, Dave, you just...
Yeah, but Sid, those people in Times Square, they're awesome, those dances. Those are like the Kai Greens.
Everyone's trying to be that now. Like,
I don't want to see the woman down the block who takes the garbage out at like 5 a.m. I don't want to see her on TikTok when I open up the app. Sorry.
Tyler, not that I need to say it, but you might want to clip this segment. This is going to be great. Let's get back to the show. The Real Deal Junior. Dave, any tips for faster recovery after leg day?
Yep. You want to know what I did after leg day? I would go home because I was so nauseous after training legs because, it really traumatizes your nervous system. I would drink a massive shake and I would go to sleep. That's literally what I would crawl in bed and I would go to sleep. And sometimes I would sleep 90 minutes, an hour and a half. Usually it was about 45 minutes. And when I would wake up, my legs were tingling as if like I could tell the recovery process had already begun. Now, I forgot to mention also, I would usually take an IGF-1 shot and a G8 shot sometimes too, but usually IGF-1 and I would go to sleep. But the bottom line is if you sleep and you put the right nourishment into your body before you go to bed, you're going to recover. You're going to start the recovery process because legs is a massive amount of muscle that you're breaking down, especially with the weights I was lifting back in the day, doing 600-pound plus squats. Some days I would even do deadlifts on squat day, on leg day. So I was I was wiped out. And you know what? The rest of the day I always felt terrible because my nervous system was so traumatized. But sleep regenerates the nervous system. That, not only does it help the muscles repair themselves, but the nervous system is really what gets traumatized during leg day. So try to get a nap in after if you can. Make sure you eat first. Don't just fall asleep without eating anything because that's ridiculous. You got to get that, do an isolized shake, 60 grams of protein, take a scoop of carbolized 40 grams and just zonk out, and just like lay down. You might not even be able to fall asleep because sometimes your nervous system is so whacked that you can't do it. I have a lot of guys that buy, I have a product called Euphoria that I sell. A friend of mine makes it on the DavePalumbo.com website. And it really helps, it relaxes you. It really raises the GABA neurotransmitters in the brain. That, a lot of guys I know who train legs real hard say that works really well after leg day. Now, I didn't have that back when we used GHB, but I never used GHB when it was legal during the day. I always used it at night before bed to fall asleep, which definitely helped, especially on leg day. But if you take a little dose of Euphoria with your shake, with your post-workout shake, and then take a nap, because that'll relax you a little bit, that would certainly help speed up leg recovery.
Let's go to B Winery 20. Heard a doctor on the John Meadows YouTube channel say that it could take up to 3 years to get natural test production going again. I went off TRT for 8 weeks and levels dropped to 58, taking HCG for the first 4 weeks. How were you able to come off and get your levels back up, or is it a person-to-person thing?
There's definitely a genetic individuality to, whether your body will actually turn itself back on and whether you'll actually get up to high levels again, So I was on HCG, HMG, and Clomid for a very long time because I was trying to get my wife pregnant. So I was probably on that for 6 months straight. Then she got pregnant. I went off it briefly, but I stayed on some HCG because I knew she wanted to have another one. And then right after, when we were ready to start for the other one, then I kicked the HMG back in and the Clomid with the HCG. And so I was almost on for like 2 years straight, at least HCG. The HMG was in and out. The Clomid was on and off too. But the HCG was pretty consistent. And so I don't know if that did it. And then I stayed on my Testalize the whole time too. And Testalize helps balance estrogen, DHT, and testosterone. So that was like a consistent thing I did. Now, my levels probably right now are probably around about 500. They're like mid-range, a little higher than mid-range. And I feel good. I was just telling this to Milos before because he was asking me why I'm not on HRT. I said, well, I feel fine. I feel good. So there's no reason to mess with that. Now, other people might, get themselves back to normal range, but their normal may be 250 or 300. Now, that's not low. If you're a 50-something-year-old guy, that might be a normal range for you. But that might not be enough. And I told Milos, I said, Milos, if I felt low, I would go on HRT. I'm not against it. I fully endorse it, as a matter of fact. I recommend it for older people. I mean, I'm always promoting Titan Medical because of their hormone replacement therapies. So if I didn't feel good, I would be on it. I just use the HCG once in a while. I'll take a shot maybe once every 10, 14 days just to feel good, But I don't need it. But I do it just like I said because whatever, I don't feel that that's going to mess with my natural levels. I don't think that's going to raise my blood pressure. It might just give me a little boost every so often if I feel a little low. But you have to see what makes you feel good. You might have a 300 testosterone and feel great. You might have a 700 testosterone and feel low. I know guys like that because you know what happens? A lot of times you could have a good total testosterone, but your free testosterone is low, or your sex hormone binding globulin, which is the protein that circulates in the blood that binds up testosterone, might be high. If that's high, that means you're inactivating a lot of your testosterone. So you got to kind of look at all the blood values and evaluate them, and then the ultimate deciding factor is how do you feel? Sid, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Adam Jackson, Dave, thoughts on switching to a short ester test 5 weeks out from a show so you can easily manage test level on peak week if you want to run 0 tests into show day to reduce water retention, or does it not matter what your test levels are and only estrogen matters?
One more time, Sid, read that.
Yeah, sure. So thoughts on switching to a short ester test 5 weeks out from a show so you can easily manage test level on peak week if you want to run 0 tests into show day to reduce water retention, or does it not matter what your test levels are and only estrogen matters?
Yeah, you know what, estrogen, testosterone, estrogen is probably more important for fluid retention, but believe it or not, when you're dieting and you have no body fat, okay, you don't hold water. It's almost impossible to hold water unless you're taking excessive amounts of like steroid or excessive amounts of GH. I never was really holding a lot of water. Nothing that I would ever have to worry that a couple of half diazides wouldn't get rid of and a little bit of water restriction. So what I found was if I reduced testosterone 2 weeks before a show, I got flat. like the testosterone kept me nice and full. I'm not against short-acting esters like test propionate or even test suspension. What I'm against is the fact that most of the time, at least in my body, test propionate always left me super sore and inflamed wherever I injected it, which doesn't look good, obviously. If you're injecting it into a muscle and it smooths it out and you feel like someone hit you with a hammer wherever you injected it, that's not a good thing. And suspension did the same thing. So what I would do is I would stay on the long-acting esters, and then I would take my last shot the Wednesday before a Saturday show. And usually in the morning of the show, I was taking a shot of test suspension back in the early 90s. When Trenbolone became available again, I stopped doing the test suspension shots and I just did the Trenbolone. So that was always a better option anyway, but they didn't have that for a number of years. So that was my protocol. I never had a water fluid retention issue unless there was one show I did where I didn't take a diuretic. Everyone's like, oh, you look so full, you don't need to take a diuretic. I'm like, I'll try it. Stupid. Because you always have nervous energy, and a diuretic just sharpens you up a little bit. So even though, a lot of guys I work with, maybe I only give them a half a Diazide because they don't even need it. But that gets rid of the nervous energy that you get, going on, or the nervous water, I should say, retention that you might get due to maybe some high cortisol or whatever, that maybe you didn't sleep the night before. You always want to have a little extra, because you could always drink a little if you're too flat. You could always eat a little junk food if you need to fill out a little bit. But if you're holding water and you wake up the morning of the show, you're screwed. There's nothing you can do at that point. It's too late. But you don't have to worry about testosterone making you hold water. That's not going to happen.
Let's go to Philip Rowe. If I do heavy deadlifts, for example, on Monday, and if I squat on Wednesday, my lower back is still sore and it's limiting my strength. Any advice how to cope with this besides one more rest day between squatting and deadlifting?
Yeah, you should try to separate those days by as many days as possible. So if you do a 5-day, let's say you do 5 days of training per week and you're off 2 days a week, maybe on Monday do your legs, and then maybe on Friday do your deadlifts. So you're separating them by enough time that it gives your body a chance to recover. Another option, which I sometimes would rotate around, is I would do deadlifts and squats, deadlifts and legs on the same days. So I would do all the deads, squats together. Usually I ended the workout with deadlifts, because it's weird. Deadlifts are weird. It doesn't matter how much you've done before, your deadlift doesn't change. And you know what I found also is that I squatted and did my whole leg workout and then went to deadlifts. I was already warmed up. I can go right to my heavy weight. I didn't have to build up 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plates. I would go right to 4 plates on deadlifts, do 405, I do 500 the next set, and then, depending on if I went to 600, I would go to 600 the set after that. And that was it, and I was done with the deadlift workout. I didn't have to start really light because I was already warmed up. So that was usually how I did it. Sometimes I felt like I got a little bit too much training on that day, so I cut it back. I would switch deadlifts back-to-back day, and if I did that, I always made sure those days were separated by at least 3 days so that my body had a chance to recover, because it would suck if you're going to do squats and you're still sore from doing deadlifts in your legs. That's not going to help you, obviously.
Before we ask the last question, again, a reminder right now, speciesnutrition.com. You can hit the link below right in the description. Half off Isolized 22 serve chocolate milk, cinnamon donut, and vanilla peanut butter, and half off 44 serve Isolized cinnamon donut. Let's go to our last question. It is from Soren Popa. Who had the best rear lat spread ever, Dorian or Ronnie?
Both of them were amazing. I would say, and you know what? When you talk about the best lat spread of all time from behind, and I'm not talking about, we're talking about just upper body, the best back, right? I would have to say that, the guy who might beat both of them might be Joel Stubbs. Joel Stubbs had one of the best backs of all time. If he had legs, and I think he had some surgeries on his knees, if he had legs, he would have been Mr. Olympia. But his back was unbelievable. He's a pilot. I don't even know how he fits in the seats, the pilot seats, he's so big. But if you're going to compare Dorian versus Ronnie, I don't know if anyone had a better front lat spread than Dorian Yates. And I don't know if that's because Ronnie Coleman didn't know how to hit the front lat spread. When Ronnie would hit a front lat spread, rather than just opening his lats, he would almost try to flex it like he was doing a most muscular pose. He didn't know how to hit the pose right. I think if he would have known how to hit the pose right, he probably would have had a better lat spread than Dorian. Dorian, man, just would go in there and pop those lats out, and you would see no this space here would be filled with lat. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Haney had a good front lat spread too, but he didn't have his back size was not as good as Dorian or Ronnie's. I mean, 03 Ronnie Coleman back double bicep. I don't think anyone beats that, including Dorian, because Ronnie had better legs. But front lat spread, Dorian Yates, is probably better than Ronnie in the front lat spread. But Joel Stubbs is the best from the waist up.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder right now, link below, Isolized sale on SpeedsNutrition.com. Big Rami news, Dave's reaction video from last night. And then tomorrow, our mega episode of Iron Debate with Tom Prince and Milos Sarcev. For Dave Palumbo and our producer, Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.